What's up, guys? Jason Payne, your host of the Sexy Business Status Podcast. I'm here with my friend, my cousin, and my accountant
That's it.
as well, Mr. Mike Payne. Mike Payne, what's up, man?
JP, good to see you, man. How
Dude,
you doing?
I'm good, dude. I'm good. How you been?
Things are rolling, man. It's just it's been great.
Yeah?
Business is going. Family's doing well.
So Mike has been my CPA since I started State 48 Roofing 4 years ago. Saved me tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars since then. Ironically, as we're doing this, Dory called you this morning because we're going to be getting out of this office and going into a much bigger, more updated room for podcasts and gyms and training rooms and all that fun stuff. And Dory reached out to him and said, "Hey, let's talk about the tax incentives of doing this." And he's like, "Oh yeah, let me roll them out." Bam, 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 bam.
Yep.
And we're like, justifiable. Next question. That was literally, how long was that conversation? 10 minutes?
Like if 10 minutes, but you present a scenario of facts, and all of a sudden there's just, yep, that's eligible. Those improvements are eligible for first time depreciation. That's going to create a big deduction this year. So boom, let's go for it.
Instead of doing it all at once, like we're able to actually put the finance the TI into our monthly for 5 years.
Brilliant.
So I get to write off every single month, like at least a third, if not 2/3 of my rent, because it's all renovation based, right?
Brilliant. Yeah,
For 5 years.
that's a great negotiation that you did with that.
Oh, and they're like,
Nice
yeah,
work.
well, totally. Well, the other guy's like, oh no, he's like, we'll give you, 30 or 40K towards the front improvement that they did, the TI. They're like, but yeah, you have to go get a TI loan for 150 G's and all that crap. And I'm like, I don't want to go do that. Plus have rent and all that stuff. These guys are like, yep, not a problem. It's a dad and a son, and they're like, yeah, we'll throw all together. They're like all gang, they're accountants, they're CPAs, all for it. And I'm like, oh, I love you. Here you go.
Yeah, and it's for you. It's one of the best types of tax strategies, which is you defer the expense over a few years, but you recognize the expense for tax purposes up front.
Yes.
Perfect way to do it. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's like buying a truck.
Yep.
Same
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly.
It's like you're not paying $100,000 for the truck today,
Yep.
but it shows that you bought a $100,000 truck.
Yep. Exactly.
And finance the sucker out and then pop, pop, pop. That's great. So, Mikey, so you went to Gilbert High, Tiger Pride. We have a lot of Tigers on here. Lane was just on. Oh, Lane's a Hawk. Never mind. I take it back.
Thanks.
Lane is
Thanks.
a freaking Hawk. Heidi's a Hawk though, so I guess we can still be okay. So graduated when? 2000?
I graduated from high school in 2002.
02.
I went up to NAU, got an accounting degree, became a lumberjack up there, and then came back
lumberjacks.
to ASU, got my law degree from there.
You were an
as well.
attorney first. That's right.
I was a CPA first, and then became an attorney, and now
Okay.
went to work at some big firms. Kind of just learned, some deep specialty. My first firm, all I did was nonprofit work, and so got really deep specialty working with nonprofits or tax exemption. We were working with billion-dollar foundations on the East Coast and the West Coast.
Crazy.
We were doing all the big hospital systems here in Arizona and the Southwest, and then I went to work for a law firm where that's where I started learning how to do business development, because at the big firms you're just a cog, you're just a technician. You
Yeah.
don't learn how to do sales, you don't learn how to do customer support, you don't learn any of those people skills. So
Yeah. Very, very. You have a certain niche and nothing else.
yeah, and that's it.
No
You're
skill
just a
set.
technician. They don't invite you to the sales meetings. Whereas at the law firm gave me a lot of latitude and a lot of support. They taught me how to. Here's how you close a sale. Here's all the stuff that you should have learned in law school that you didn't learn related to. Here's how you empathize with the client. Here's how you, set out fees and resolve concerns and then get the sale done.
So you went to law school. Did you go to law school first, or you became a CPA first?
Became a CPA first, undergraduate degree, and then
Okay.
law school is a graduate degree, so another 3 years.
So why did you go the law route?
I didn't like. I wanted to do more. I knew I wanted to be a business owner someday. That was my high level goal. I didn't know what kind of business I wanted to run, and honestly, at the time when I graduated, the economy was in the tank, and so it just made sense to keep going to school and develop my skills. And there's a guy that you and I both know named Mark Pugmire.
Sure.
So he's a CPA and a lawyer, and I talked to him at some point.
You still work for his dad, Highland Holmes?
Yeah, well, his dad is the one I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah,
He's
okay.
a CPA and a lawyer.
Okay.
And he never practiced, as far as I understand. He just had those credentials and those skills in his tool belt, and went and built a successful home building company. But you know,
He
did
built
that.
my house
Yeah,
in
Did
Power
he
Ranch.
really? No, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
in '05. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's been able to run his business from an informed position because he doesn't get taken advantage of, because he understands how the books work. He understands how the legal contracts work. And I always wanted that background, so that whatever business I was going to run, and you know, most of our families in construction and trades. My dad's a farmer. I thought I'd end up building homes or doing something like that, but ended up learned how to practice law, learned how to be a good CPA, learned how to be a business strategist, and then I decided that's what I enjoyed. I enjoy working with other business owners, helping them develop legal strategy, look at your org chart, figure out what makes sense, what your goals are, make sure it's efficient, it saves you money on taxes, it protects you legally, and then let's look at the tax side and do some tax planning to make sure that however we're structured, you're the most tax efficient as possible.
Lean and mean.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's crazy. So it's out of interviewing a lot of people, millionaires, just having conversations with them, whether it's other roofers, other business owners, right? Even some people that I consult and whatnot. The most successful ones that I've found, most of them they went and got their degree in accounting.
Yeah.
It's great. And I'm like, wait.
Did you know Lane has a degree in accounting?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Lane
He went
Peterson.
he went to W. Carey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until the other day. We share an office together.
Yeah.
And he just told me that he has a degree in accounting, but I'm like, you're an investor. He's like, yeah, it just helps me. Accounting is the language of business.
Yes.
And so if you
it's a numbers game.
You start with that. You can get into doors that you wouldn't be able to get into otherwise. You understand things at least at a fundamental level. You won't get taken advantage of.
Yeah, that's insane. And then the law part of it too, like they said, the legally binding contracts and partner agreements, you know, all those type of things. It's some people, like, I have to go hire that out to figure out, like, hey, make sure I don't do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing or sign here, and then I'm like screwed for, you know, commas and zeros, or, you know, oh, well, you just gave away half your business because you're an idiot type deal.
Yep, exactly.
And people that have that background or have that, you know, maybe that other person, but most of the time they've studied it, so they know they'll write the contract to favor them, right? And so that's where you have that one up because you went to law school, because you're a CPA. Compared to me, I'm a business owner, but I literally have to hire a CPA and hire an attorney to make sure that whatever I'm doing, I cover my ass. That gets expensive.
Yeah, but that's a smart way to do it instead of trying to learn those things yourself, because you're spending, your time is limited, your time is valuable. So if you were taking time to learn how to do your own books, that's time taken away from your team, time taken away from your customers.
Yeah, and growth in your business.
And you know, I think it's when you start out, if you're starting small, I always encourage new business owners, startups, to go ahead and do your bookkeeping for their first 6 months until you get to the point where your time is so valuable that it makes perfect sense to have somebody else do that for you. But when you start, if you want to do that just to learn it, it's not a problem. What happened with you though, and being there, and you know, in the first row of the audience, you went hyper growth, and you put fuel to that fire, and you passed that stage in about 2 days, where you were like, yeah, I need people to stay in their lanes and help me with these other administrative things so that I can focus on hyper growing this business.
Yeah, well, like we did $1 million in 5 months from scratch.
Crazy, man.
From zero.
Took me 3 years to get there.
Yeah, that's good. But so from the get go, I knew, even worked for my uncle for 9 years. I knew my strengths, I knew my weaknesses, and I was really good at production because I did that for 5 years running with Todd.
Yep.
And then he left, and you know Connor, obviously one of your best friends, right? And then Connor and I ran together, but I had the sales side on that for 3 years, 3.5. So out of a 9-year spell, I had 5 years of production, knowing all the back end, what it looks like, pricing, where people are fat, where people are skinny, where people take shortcuts, where they try and save money and they shouldn't. And on the sales side, from doing my own sales, I averaged like 1.5 million in sales myself, apart from managing a team of anywhere from 3 to 6 sales reps.
Yeah.
And doing anywhere from $3 to $5 million in revenue. Doing that indirectly for 8 years, but specifically where I was the main guy for 3, almost 4. Mm-hmm. And then being the GM type deal. But on the backside, taxes, payroll, you know, all those type of things. Like I had very, very little exposure to that because my uncle just, whether he chose to or I just didn't ask, it wasn't my niche. So I always said, okay, cool. I will take care of, literally, Dory and I sat down and said, I'll take care of production and sales, you take care of the rest.
Yep.
Cool, done.
Perfect.
That's literally how easy it was when her and I sat down, because I asked Heidi if she wanted to be involved and be an office manager and this and that. And she's like, no, I want to be a mom and have babies and do that game.
Dory's
Help
been
out.
awesome. From I
Dude.
work with her regularly, and she's awesome part of your team. You're lucky to have her.
Oh yeah, she is, and I compensate her extremely well because she is wherever I lack, she is 100% fulfillment.
So that's
behind it.
I've got a Dory at my firm. Her name is Shelby. She's my practice manager. And if you're familiar with the EOS system, you've got the visionary and the integrator.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000%.
You and I, our personality types, we are the visionaries. I mean, that's our DNA.
Totally.
100%. Big ideas, lots of energy, relationship driven, get stuff moving. But when it comes to the details, when it comes to the analytics part,
Yeah. Organization.
we struggle.
We suck.
Getting stuff implemented.
Yeah.
It's rough. And so we need somebody that can kind of take our ideas and boil them down to action steps and boil them down to consistent actions over a period of time.
Right.
Shelby does that for me. And I think, in we mostly work with service providers, whether it's professional services or construction and trades. And, I think every business owner has to get to that point. And I think it's when you have about 5 employees, you need to have that person that takes that from you. If you're driven like us, and some business owners are the integrators, and so they need somebody that can be the visionary, and that's a little bit more challenging.
Yes.
Because typically you look at the CEO and our personality, our ADHD driven, high energy personality.
Squirrel on cocaine.
It's great for CEO because we are executives. We execute. We make decisions quickly and
Very quickly. That's a huge nugget, by the way. Like people say, oh, they would say money is speed, right? And if you and just listening to books, talking to people, all that kind of stuff, they said the people that are most successful are the ones that can make decisions quickly. And it's not off the cuff. Like it's a strategic decision, but it's also very, very quick with not spending, months and years and graphs and all that bull crap, but literally just saying, this is where we're going to go. We go 100 miles an hour at it.
Yep.
So Grant Cardone's the president of Cardone Enterprises. His name is Jared Glant, who's I want to say good buddy of mine. I know who he is. But something that he teaches religiously that I love, told a story on a podcast once where he's like, if we're I forgot what state he said, but let's say we're in Arizona, right? We're in Arizona and we want to go to Florida. We want to go to the East Coast. And he's like, okay, so if I leave and I go west, we both get in the same car and I'm going 100 miles an hour, I'm going to hit San Diego. Mm-hmm. But I'm going 100 miles an hour and you're going 50.
Yep.
I'm going to hit San Diego, figure out, shit, wrong sand, wrong politics, wrong everything, right? $18 a gallon gas and $5 a gallon milk jug. Crap, I hit the wrong coast. Turn around, I'm going to pass you as you're still not even to San Diego, knowing that I already know that that was the wrong beach.
Yep.
But we both go the same direction. He's like, I'm already passing you in Yuma or pick your poison, right? Whatever that is, going that way, and you still don't even know where you're going. But he's like, if you're gonna make a decision, make a wrong decision, make it fast. Because if you make it fast, you know what not to do next time, and now you have the experience of like, I've already gone down that road.
Yeah.
Don't do it, and I did it so fast. Oh yeah, I already knew not to do that, right? And you pivot.
And I would add to that, fail fast too. Realize you're in San Diego. That's not where you're supposed to be, and
don't hang out for a week.
Yeah, you don't hang out there and try to determine. Well, maybe we could set up in San Diego. We're already here, right? So let's just try this for a while. You already know you want to be on the East Coast, so fail fast. Don't worry about. There's this concept called sunk costs in accounting.
Sunk costs, okay.
Yeah, and sunk costs basically is the notion that you've already put the money into that. You're not getting that money back, and so you shouldn't value that in terms of making future decisions. That money's gone, and so don't look at that money you spent getting to San Diego as, oh, we need to capitalize on that, and therefore we need to set up in San Diego. The fact is that money's gone, and it shouldn't come into play when you're looking at how to make future decisions, because that's a sunk cost. It's gone, and it's
almost like bad debt. Just like write it off, like be done with it, move it.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah. You're not going to recover it, and so you just move on. And when you're looking at what to do in the future, you're looking at your opportunity cost, right? And you're looking at your actual cost, but your sunk cost, whatever it took you to get to where you are, that's all gone. So don't consider that's a fallacy. People very frequently consider their sunk costs when they're trying to decide what to do. Well, I spent X amount on this truck. Well, at the end of the day, you don't need a truck. You need a Tesla, or you need a whatever, or you need to trade that truck in. It doesn't matter that you put $10,000 into repairs into that truck. that shouldn't affect your decision whether to sell it
Right.
and get a new truck, right? That money's gone.
I have a question for you since you said this. So I worked for a guy who didn't believe in owning new vehicles. Literally, we had like an extra truck. I forget what we called it, but it was just always an extra truck at the yard.
Yep.
When one of our 5 or 10 or whatever vehicles broke down. I have FOMO from that, of PTSD from that. So all my stuff's brand new. I'm like, I'd rather charge more, sell more, do more, and tell people, do you want me to show up in this vehicle or in this vehicle as like justification? But I hated being stranded on the side of the road,
Yeah.
or going and picking people up from being stranded on the side of the road. So owning a vehicle, a brand new vehicle, and writing it off versus paying cash. Let's say I buy a truck for. I just did one the other day from Ben from Hinder Brown. Let's say I buy a production truck for, let's say, $60,000, 3/4 ton. Going to be, we'll have it for probably 3 to 5 years, or at least 2, but probably 3-ish years, and going to work for us. Be great, awesome. Buy it brand new, and then have a payment on it for 72 months or whatever. Compared to going and buying a cheap one that has 100,000 miles on it and maybe two-tone paint or this or that for $20,000.
Yep.
What would you recommend and why? There's pros and cons of both, but which one would you recommend? You're the one that went to school. I didn't go to school. I went to Chandler Gilbert for like a semester and a half.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend and why?
So
Is that smart or dumb or both?
It all depends on your situation and how long what your intention is with that vehicle, how long you intend to keep it, how you drive it. There's a lot that goes into it. What I typically see is one of two things. If you're using that vehicle in business and it's going to get a lot of miles and it's going to be replaced in a few years, typically you're going to want to just buy the new vehicle and you want to drive that until your warranty's gone, because the benefit of driving a new vehicle is you get that warranty and you don't have to worry about paying for repairs. So you are paying more because it's a new vehicle,
Sure.
but that eliminates a cost that you would otherwise incur, which is repairs. And we know how it is. We grew up where our dads bought trucks at 100,000 miles, and that was a new truck to us growing up, right?
Totally.
And
I got called the Green Monster, 95 Chevy Silverado.
Yep.
I got it my sophomore year in high school, so it was like 2002, 2003. It was 95 and it had 200,000 miles on it, and the reverse went out. So I literally couldn't. So I had to drive into Gilbert High into the parking lot, and I had my sister and another girl that lived in our neighborhood, and I had football afterwards or baseball. I don't look like an idiot having to push my truck backwards. So I literally drive in forwards, have the girls get out, put it in neutral, and then have them push me back, and I would back into a parking space.
That's awesome.
So at football or baseball, I don't know who knows this. Very few people know this story, but literally every day it was 8 hours, so there wasn't a lot of people. But I have them push me back into a parking spot. So in the afternoon or evening after football or baseball, turn on, put in drive, see you boys, see you later. But I didn't have a reverse.
That's awesime.
My dad gave it to me at 200,000. He gave it to me at 200,000 miles.
Yeah, no, I remember that truck.
Yeah.
So if that's how you are, and if you want, branding's important.
Totally.
Pulling up in a dumpy old truck with your name handwritten on the side of the truck doesn't inspire a lot of confidence in your customers. And I can't tell you how many times driving around I see your trucks. I saw one yesterday. I always know which one's yours. Yours is the beefy, awesome looking truck. But
Yeah.
but I probably see your trucks once a week driving around, and your trucks are sharp. They're all black. They all look nice, and it's branding. And so that's one way to do it. If you are a business owner who is, if you're more conservative and if you don't use your vehicle as much for business and you tend to keep it for a longer period of time, then I would say it doesn't matter. Buy a used vehicle, because we're probably there's two ways to do it when you're expensing the vehicles. You can either do depreciation expense up front, which gives you a nice big tax deduction up front.
Sure.
And then you do all your actual expenses going forward. So all of your gas, all of your maintenance, your insurance, your repairs. Or you can do the mileage method, which is if you're going to be doing keeping a car for 10 years or longer, typically it always makes sense to do the mileage, because then you get the standard mileage deduction. I can't remember. I think it's like 56 cents right now.
Yeah, 'cause
per mile. But you can run that car up to 250,000 miles. It's going to be a lot more beneficial over the long term to do the mileage method than the actual expenses.
Mm-hmm. So that's the other thing too, is like, so the takeaway, I know nothing about taxes, depreciation, write off, any of that stuff. But I mean, I do now, but before I was like, I want a vehicle that's not going to break down.
Yep.
That was my thing. So my first truck that I bought, so it's another crazy story. So this was our third kid. Yeah, I think it was Oakley. our third child, apart from Noah. So Heidi and I had 3 kids at the time, and he was like a month old. So a month old baby, leaving a W-2 job, right? Sales at Griffin, where I was for a year, leaving there, starting State 48 Roofing. Well, when you start a business, you can't buy, you don't qualify for anything, right? To purchase anything. So so I had to buy a house before I started my business.
Yep.
So, and I had to buy a truck before I started my business, becoming a debt to income ratio, or like, oh, you started a business, like, yeah, pound salt, like you're a wild card, right?
Yep.
You're a 16-year-old driving a brand new Corvette type deal.
Yeah.
And so what I had to do is, and zero accounting background by any means, but I said, okay, cool. So while I still have this W-2 job, according to them, according to, the IRS and the dealerships and, Fannie Mae and all those cats, I bought my house, and I already had lined up with Ben. I already had a truck lined up, 100% ready to go, financing, deposit, everything ready to go. I closed on my house, recorded. Once you record, like, it's done deal.
Yep.
Once I recorded, that same night at 7 o'clock, I was at the dealership signing for my truck because my house didn't hit my debt to income ratio, didn't hit my credit yet. So I still approved, and I still had a W-2, right?
Perfect. I love it.
Is this good? This is good.
Yeah, you went from zero debt to a lot of debt in
I
one
went
day.
zero debt to like a shit, and it was like an $80,000 truck, or it was a $50,000 truck, but but I didn't want to buy like a $10,000 clunker, so it was like 50 to 80 grand. I don't remember. It wasn't one of my nice diesels that I owned, and it with a 1 month old, and the next day, once I did that, I quit my W-2, and so once I bought the truck and bought the house, the next day I opened up State 48 Roofing,
That's
and
awesome.
That was August 1st of 2019.
That's a great story.
So
that's
because I knew if I bought the truck, I wouldn't be able to qualify for the house. And if I left and started State 48 at all, then I wouldn't qualify for the house or the truck. I'd have to wait 2 years to get into a house, or X number of years or months in order to get a decent truck. Yeah. But because I was a W-2 employee, I am super qualified.
Yeah. Well, I think
it's a bunch of bullshit, but
I think
whatever.
your mindset in not wanting to worry about repairs on your vehicle is when you look at
that's a good point.
You look at your opportunity cost of when you take a truck in for repairs, what are you looking at? You got to get somebody there in the morning who then needs to get a ride. You have to get a replacement vehicle, so hopefully they have a rental. None of your tools are in there. Your branding's not on there.
Yep.
And then
by the way, when you do rent a vehicle that you need to pull, so like Enterprise and those guys, there's one, I think it is Enterprise, that has where you can rent and you can pull trailers with the rental vehicle.
Yeah, but most won't let you.
No. And they're like $100 a day.
Yeah.
Like, it's wicked expensive.
But the biggest time suck, the biggest loss is the time it takes to go drop your vehicle off,
Yes.
call follow up, and go pick it up again. And because that's a full day where you've got a stocked truck that is not on the road.
Yeah.
And so,
or my sales reps miss 4 sales calls.
4 sales calls is,
thousands of dollars in
thousands
revenue.
and thousands of dollars.
Yes.
Versus, you're paying some interest on your vehicle, but you don't ever have to take it in. It's because it's just going to run. All you got to do is the regular maintenance.
Yeah. If my sales guys like go down on a vehicle, by the time, like, phrase it however you want, by the time it breaks down, you get in another one or this or that. My production guys, it's on average like $5,000 a day that I lose.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so is it worth it to have a brand new truck that never breaks down, never has problems, under warranty? And then when it starts to crap out, like, that's what I did. This one started to crap out. I'm like, what's the mileage? Okay, it's at, a buck, whatever. I'm like, okay, cool. Trade it in. If it's over $100,000, starts causing me problems, I just trade it in because I know it's not going to get better.
Yeah.
It's not like you put 5 or 10 grand into it. Oh, I'm going to get another 300,000 miles out of it. No, but some people have the time. Either you have the time or the money, but not both. And I wanted the time, and I was willing to sacrifice the money to not have to do that. But there's some guys that they're what do you call them, grease monkeys or ratchet monkeys, whatever. Like they love working on their trucks and doing that kind of stuff. I'm like, dude, I know how to because my dad made me, right? Because just like your dad, like, we know how to do fuel pumps and carburetors and trannies and all that kind of crap. But I don't want to because I'd rather spend time with my family, spend time at the gym, or be doing something fun, or be making more money. Like, I'd rather go sell 3 more roofs instead of having to go get under a truck and fix X or Y or Z.
Yep.
It's just, I don't know. I got massive PTSD from it. I'm like, nope, never again. Like, my truck's at 65,000 miles. I'm like, probably trade it in by the end of the year.
You got to figure out what are your tools of your trade. For me, it's a computer. So I just went and bought a nice, expensive computer, top of the line.
Sure.
Because I can't have my computer crapping out on me. I can't have it glitching and deleting files, right?
Right.
You can't have your trucks acting up. You got to put money into your tools because those are some of the things that you leverage. Just the same way you take care of your customers, or excuse me, your employees,
Right.
because you want them to be well taken care of. You don't want high employee turnover. You
Right.
take care of them because
That's a huge
leverage point for you.
Yes, that's a huge point. Guys, employees that want to come work for you, they don't want to drive piece of shit vehicles that break down.
True.
They don't. Because when they break down, they are not doing anything for work. Yeah, they're still getting paid, but psychologically, they're literally like, they feel like they're losing money and costing the company money.
Yeah.
Even though the company vehicle broke down, they're pissed off. They're in a bad mood. They go home because they're sitting on the side of the road and it's 115 degrees. By the way,
and they're not able to achieve their goals, which should, if your compensation is structured properly, the better work they do, the more they get paid. And so
100%.
you want them to have all the tools. That you don't want them to have any excuses. It's all in them.
Yeah.
And there's no excuse. You don't have to worry about the trucks. I got that taken care of. Here's all the top of the line tools of the trade, so you are perfectly set up to do your job.
Well, and very similar to dump trailers.
Sure.
Right? Dump trailers, it's crazy. I have like 5 or 6 now, but I remember the first 3 that I bought were like $9,800.
Yeah.
And then I have 6, $9,800. Then, economy, COVID, all that kind of crap. Then it was 11,000, and then it's 13,000.
Yep.
I know a buddy, one of my friendly competitor buddies, just bought one, the exact same one, exact same style, exact same dealership. It's now $14,000, not $13,000.
Yeah.
It was $9,800. And by the way, I've only been in this business for 4 years. So within 4 years, went from $9,800 to $14,000. The exact same sales rep at the exact same big techs on Main Street, like over a 4 year period, right? Go from 10 grand to 11 grand to 13 grand. That was $14,000 for the exact same trailer. And I'm like, but I pay cash for them.
Yep.
Right. And so but same thing, they're brand new. So the hydraulics and the pumps and the brakes and the tires and the brrr, like you have normal yearly routine maintenance. I get them done. But like, dude, I never get phone calls of like, your trailer sucks, your trailer broke down, the door broke, the blah, 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 the gates. No, you also have to train your guys to make sure they take care of them.
Yeah.
So I'm on them like a hawk because they're right outside this door. Once a week, I'll randomly go back out there and look at them. And I'm like, hey, fix this. But same thing, like I paid full price and bought them brand new because I don't want my guys to break down because there's so much of, when it comes to hiring people, they'll go look at your office.
Yep.
They'll go look at your trucks. They'll go look at your trailers. They'll go look at your assets. For you, it's like they'll go look at your workspace, right? Do they have nice high-end, tech stuff for you? Or is like, hey, here's a piece of shit from like 8 years ago. You're like, you want me to perform at optimal performance
with some outdated tech? No, it's no fun.
So it's kind of funny that you bring that up because I'm on the road a lot for work. All my guys, sales guys, production guys, admin gals, they all work from home. Mm-hmm. So they don't need a vehicle by any means. But those that commute, I'm just curious, those that commute like you, so you go drive 5 minutes, 2 minutes to your house, your truck or your car, your Tesla, minivan, whatever, sits there for 8, 10, 12 hours a day. At what point, is that when you don't buy a nice, exotic, badass vehicle because you can't write it off? Because it just goes and sits there and catches dust? And like you can wrap it, but it sits in a parking lot.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would do something, but I wouldn't. I mean, our wraps are like $4,200 a pop.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would spend $4,200 for my truck or my car to sit in a parking lot where I'm going to sit in a room or in my office for 8, 10, 12 hours a day.
Yeah, we're
opposite.
That makes sense. You told me the other day that you're in your office for an hour a day, whereas I'm on the road for an hour a day, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So it's exactly
if I have appointments, but
yeah.
For the most, there's lots of days where I don't leave my office at all. And so no, for me, I did buy a vehicle. I bought a truck, an F-150 that was, had 18,000 miles. It was a year old. But I'm going to keep that one for a long time because I'm not going to put as many miles, not even close to as many you put on it.
We average 40,000 miles a year.
Yeah. And I don't really need a wrap because I'm not going door to door. I'm not on the road that much. And so it doesn't really make sense for me to do that. But my building, I definitely have branded.
Yeah, your brick and mortar.
We have frontage on Baseline. We've got a big, nice sign that lights up at night.
It's huge.
And everybody that drives by gets to see that sign. And there's people that go to my church. It's right by the boundary of where our church is. And when people ask me where I work, I tell them like, oh, I've seen that because it's right when I pull out of my neighborhood. And right,
sure.
So it's a very busy street. So that's crazy. That's where I put my money into that $15,000 sign.
Yeah. And it's funny is I'll spend probably $1,000 on a sign or $500 on a sign to throw it in. We got a brick. We're gonna get a brick and mortar on Sossaman and Pecos, but it's like a half a mile inland. You can't. It's next to all these big other corporate, big industrial buildings. I don't care because nobody comes to my office. No clients come to my office, and I'm not gonna like get traffic because of it.
Right.
There'll be a sign there like just know where people know where to park, or like, hey, I'm right here. But other than that, it's funny. So once again, it's a complete 180.
Yep.
Like I'm not gonna spend. I know people that spend $15,000-$25,000 on these exotic signs that line up. And Preston, our cousin, right there off of 202.
Yeah.
He has this big old huge gun safe sign that I still see every freaking time he's right down the 202.
Yep.
But like mine, because I don't need a brick and mortar, because I don't have clients coming into my office, it would be a dumb expense for me to have a $15,000 sign out there when like my neighboring 3 or 4 people are going to see it. It's just not.
Yeah, and then you
compared to trucks.
You think about, well, what sign do you really need now? And it's really your website. Your website and your socials are your signs now.
Yeah,
that's where those need to be up to date. Those need to be modern, and those 100%. Need to be, you need to spend the money there, because if people have a bad experience with your website, they're going to assume that they're going to have a bad experience with your service too.
Yes. Yep. So. And in your reviews too, right?
Yep.
Like that's huge. Like having your reviews dialed in and making sure you're on top of those and sharing them with people. Like we have over combined between Yelp and Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, BBB, ROC stuff. We have over 400 5-star reviews.
That's awesome, man.
Right?
That's awesome.
But like
we're gonna. My goal is to get to 100 this year. I've been in business for almost 6 years, but I never emphasized that. And so this year I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna start asking for reviews, and I had never asked before. It just wasn't part of our. We haven't done anything. We haven't done any marketing really. We've just been organic and kind of just organic growth and referral based growth, and now I'm like, and
both of those are great.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong, and that's how you build like the structure
great,
of a business.
But it's not scalable. I can't create predictable growth without some sort of marketing. So that's what we're shifting towards now.
Those that are in my coaching program, consulting program, listen up. Exactly what he just said. Organic growth is great, but you're going to have capacity issues. You're going to max out your organic growth. So your referrals and all that stuff, people want to refer you, but what if they don't have anybody to refer you? Then like, how do you generate business? That's where like the next tier of, like I said, from marketing, ads, right? Getting non-organic. So if I can reach, 5,000 people or whatever in Gilbert, I could reach 20,000 people if I were to, press a button. And literally, I know this person, but the person 3 doors down, my referral partner doesn't know them, but an ad will hit them. Well, they're both $15,000 roofs.
Yep.
Well, now I can get that person because that person, my algorithm hit that person, but I'm friends with that person. But I'll never get that person's roof because that person won't refer me because they're not buddies.
Yep, that makes sense.
Right? So it comes down to. So that's where I'm at right now. And our next growth spurt is going to be that, like, I feel like we're having not capacity issues, but our organic reach is starting to get smaller.
Yep.
And so you can only put so much money into your referral partners, your power partners, and whatnot to an extent. But at the same time, there's just it's like an octopus. There's a whole additional revenue stream, just like door knocking and storm chasing. I haven't even touched that one. Mm-hmm. It's a whole another arm of an octopus in my business that I can use. I haven't even touched going out of state. And that's long term, but like. That's a whole nother one. So that's crazy that you bring that up with your business. It's like you could social media, right?
Yeah.
Like doing like you talked about doing a podcast. Like who wouldn't be like, oh, like who wants to talk about taxes? Bro, you'll be amazed how many people will shut up and listen to hear you 15, 20, 30 minutes just rip about like what you and I just did about trucks. That's why I did it, because I'm going to throw it back to you so you can use it. And we'll use clips like, hey, here's why to use a brand new truck versus a used truck and the pros and cons. We all need that, especially in the blue collar space. Like we all want those tax incentives. We all want that stuff. We don't want to read a book about taxes, right? Although you could have one for credibility, which I still think you should do. But like having a podcast, like a 15-minute thing about like, hey, here's how to save money via blank, and you have hundreds and hundreds of categories.
Yep.
Literally write down your top like 25 that you're struggling with. Is what we do for roofing. Hey, what are your top 25 pain points in roofing? Right? Like, how often should I maintain them? Why should I maintain them? How do I extend the life of my roof? Who gets up on my roof? Who shouldn't get up on my roof? If someone knocks on my door, what do I do? Right? Does my roof qualify for insurance or not?
Yep.
There's all these factors. How long does this roof last versus this roof? There's a lot of factors, but going through those one by one, it doesn't have to be an hour-long podcast like this one. It could literally just be 10, 15 minutes, and you have like 100 of those, and you have them on one platform. obviously put them on YouTube, but then you have like an actual podcast. You can put them on there, like the tax guys or whatever, right? Like, or the boss taxes or something. Like that'd be huge to where people can go and they can hone in, because instead of me calling you for a phone call, you actually could answer that question via that episode.
And then just send them that. And you've done that with me before, where I've had a question for you, and you sent me to a pre-recorded podcast or article that you wrote before.
Yeah.
I thought that was really powerful. I really liked that. So I am starting a podcast.
Love it.
I was just talking to you before about using a friend's space. My podcast is going to be called Boss to Boss. So our firm is Boss Advisors, so business owners, systems, and strategies. So we work with business owners and nonprofit executives on how to grow and scale their businesses, how to make sure they protect their legal status, how to make sure they save money on taxes, and make everything as easy as possible. And so podcast will be Boss to Boss, and really we're focused on just working with the business owners, the decision makers in the organization to make sure that they have everything they need. A lot of that stuff. So our firm is a combined CPA firm and a law firm, and so we can do under one roof we can do a lot of stuff that most firms would have to resource out.
Right.
And we don't try to do everything, but the stuff we do, we are very effective at kind of living in that intersection between law and tax.
Love it.
And it's been a cool experiment. We're the first firm in the state and one of the first in the nation that's allowed to do it this way, because Arizona's pretty progressive with their business rules, and Arizona was the first state that allows lawyers to share fees, which means to share ownership with non-lawyers. And so with my old business partner, we're licensed as a law firm, as an alternative business structure. My old partner, he left last year, but he wasn't a lawyer, but he had ownership in a law firm. And so that gives
crazy.
me tons of abilities to I can give equity to my staff or have them buy in, even though they're not lawyers, which is a huge deal. And I've got a practice manager who's done such a great job. I would love to be able to give her equity at some point, and to my other attorneys and other CPAs.
That's cool. Alrighty, guys. Mike Payne, like I said, he does all my accounting stuff. He's a good resource. People ask me all the time, hey, who does your check wraps? Who does your payroll? Who does your taxes? Who does this and that? You're looking at him right now. Mike, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate you. Love your story. Love where you're at. Love your growth. Love the hustle. And appreciate you for coming on, man.
All right, brother. Appreciate you having me.
Sounds good, bro.